Greetings everyone, this is Peter Sko for Music is a Journey, and today's topic I'm going to talk about the compilation albums of Ningen Isu. I talked about the band in my last video, and there seemed to be a fair bit of interest in the band because I got more views in the first few days than I usually get in any of my videos, plus quite a few thumbs up, thank you, and a couple of comments as well. So I thought it seems there is a good healthy interest in Ningen Isu out there in internet land, and so I thought, okay, well, maybe I can be of some service to everyone, some help, and tell you a little bit about their compilation albums. Now, if you're like me, you just found out about the band this year, and you decided to, you watched some videos, you were impressed with the music, and you decided to check out their discography, and then you were probably shocked to find that they have 21 full-length studio albums out there. As well, they have 2 live albums, they have their debut EP, and 4 compilation albums with the 5th one due out next week, as I mentioned. So that's a little bit overwhelming, and you might wonder exactly where do I start? Well, of course, one option is you can sign up for iTunes, the unlimited streaming, and you just go and click on Ningen Isu and you get their entire discography, bang, all at once. However, for me, it's like going to an Easter egg hunt where somebody just hands you the basket full of all the eggs from the beginning. You don't have that kind of fun of searching for those Easter eggs, and yeah, I like to hear some songs, find out what album they're from, check some reviews about the albums, maybe listen to some clips from on iTunes or see if there's anything on YouTube, and then decide which albums to get. However, of course, with 21 albums, that's a lot of stuff to buy, and as you know, buying CDs from Japan, it's expensive, especially since the price in Japan is expensive from the beginning. Brand new CDs cost about 3,000 yen, or roughly close to $30 US, and even older CDs are rarely below about $20 or about 2,000 yen anyway. So buying 21 albums is a big investment right up at front. Even used ones are usually pretty expensive anyway. So anyway, you might decide that instead of going out and buying the entire discography, maybe getting a compilation album or two for starters, and then picking out some original albums later on might be your way to go. So I'm going to introduce you to the 5 albums. The latest album, it was the one due out next week. It was actually promoted on Amazon. It has been since September. However, it was just about 10 days ago that I first found out about the track list. And so I thought, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to introduce to you what albums are represented on there and let you decide if you think that's a compilation album that's worth getting as one of your first purchases anyway. So let's take a look at the compilation albums of Ningen Isu. So the band released their debut EP in 1989. They got their start on that TV show, Ikasu Bando no Tengoku, and that TV show, I think it had its own label, Ikaten, and they released their debut EP, 7 songs, on that one. Then, the next year, they went to the Meldak label and they released their full-length debut, Ningen Shikaku. This album actually did fairly well for them, I think. At least they were happy with the sales from the debut. However, subsequent albums, the sales were diminishing. The second album, Sakura no Mori no Mankai no Shita, didn't sell as well. However, they did actually release a VHS live performance video, which you can watch in full on iTunes, on YouTube. And it's kind of fun to watch because Kenichi Suzuki, whom you know as the kind of wearing Buddhist robes and with the white shaved head, back then he had this long shiny black hair which he's shaking around, and he's moving around with the bass guitar on the stage. Shinichi Wajima, the guitarist, he looks like he just stepped off the set of a Japanese remake of Led Zeppelin's The Song Remains the Same movie. The clothes he's wearing and so on, and that's pretty cool. And then of course there is Noriyoshi Kamidate, the drummer. He is just going away on the drums there, giving them a good workout, so it's pretty cool to see. But anyway, they went on to record a 3rd album, Ogon no Yoake, which is one of my favorites because it's really progressive compared to a lot of their other albums. But that one sold even less. And finally, Kamidate, the drummer, he was not happy with the way things were going. And yeah, either he was not happy and thinking to leave, or the band said, we know you're not happy, so why don't you just head off? But anyway, either way, he left. And so by the time they came to the 4th album, Rashomon, they didn't have a drummer. And as it so happened, Kenichi Suzuki was at a glam metal festival. I think he was actually dressed as Gene Simmons and performing. But anyway, he met up with Masahiro Goto, who is also a drummer. And they talked and he said, we don't have a drummer now, so would you kindly do an album with us? And he did. And they recorded Rashomon. One thing I mentioned in the previous video was that the limit, the other instruments besides guitar, bass, and drums, there are not so many. But I failed to mention that on that album they used Taishogoto, which you can hear on the title track, Rashomon, and on one other song as well. They put a lot of effort into that album. They were actually going to make a 10-track album, but they were running close to their deadline and they had to cut one song off, which was not finished yet. They asked Tony Iommi to produce it, but he couldn't come around because of his schedule. They asked Gene Simmons to produce it, but he asked for more than they could afford. Anyway, they released that album and it also didn't sell very well either, and so their contract with Meldak was up and they were left without a label. However, Meldak released this compilation album in 1994. This is called Potenki to Kuki Otoko, which is basically Professor Peten and the Man of Air, which is a story by Edogawa Rampo. And as you know, maybe many of their songs, as well as the band's name, are inspired by Edogawa Rampo's stories. So that's one of the stories. That's the title of their first compilation. It features their first 4 albums, obviously. From the debut, there are 3 songs. From the second album, 3 songs. From Ogon no Yoake, only 2. And then from Rashomon, there are 4. As well, there are 3 additional tracks on here that might be of interest. The first is Jimenso. This was the opening track off their EP, and it was re-recorded and released as a B-side to one of the songs from Sakura no Mori no Mankai no Shita. Anyway, that B-side appears on here. And as well, there are 2 additional tracks which appear only on this compilation. One of them, I think it's called Daiogen, the Big Prophecy, and that's pretty cool. It has this... The beginning and end parts are almost like thrash metal, but because of the retro sound and Suzuki's voice, it sounds almost like it's a cross between hardcore, punk, and thrash metal. And then in the middle it breaks down with this slow, heavy riff, and it's pretty cool. The other one, Hashire Meros, this was actually an instrumental recorded for a Honda bike commercial, or at least it was used by a Honda motorcycle commercial. This one, again, has this kind of thrash or new wave of British heavy metal type riff at the beginning, and then it goes into an instrumental bit where the lead guitar plays melodies. So in that way, it's a lot like Iron Maiden, who did that a lot too, still do, I guess. So that's also pretty cool, and those 2 are only available on here. Jimenso, you'll find out later on. It's available on other albums. Anyway, that's the first one. One thing I think I should mention is, in 2016, a lot of the band's catalog was re-released on high-quality CD, and I'm assuming at that time it was also remastered as well. So the sound quality on this 1994 album is not as good as if you buy these reissued albums on high-quality CD. Alright, in 2002, the band's next compilation album was released. I should mention, actually, their 5th, 6th, and 7th albums, Odoru Isunboshi, Mugen no Junin, and Taihai Geijitsu-ten, that's what it is, right? Taihai Geijitsu-ten. They were each released on a different label. I guess they were hunting around from label to label. And then finally they returned to Meldak for their 8th album, Nijui Seiki Soso Kyoku. Anyway, and by that point also Masahiro Goto had become the permanent drummer. For 2 albums they had Iwao Tsuchiya, Odoru Isunboshi, and Mugen no Junin. And then after that, Masahiro Goto joined for, I always forget the name, Taihai Geijitsu-ten. Okay, so the next 6 albums, so that means their 5th to 10th album, are on this next compilation, which is called Oshie to Tabisuru Hito, Tabisuru Otoko. Oshie to Tabisuru Otoko. This is another story, actually, of Edogawa Rampo's, which is the traveler with the pressed rag picture. The traveler with a pasted rag picture. A story in this book as well. So that's the title of their 2nd compilation album. And this album is a compilation from their 5th to 10th album. So right away you can see that if you were to get that one and this one, you would have their first 10 albums represented, as well as 3 additional tracks on here, which are not on the other albums. One thing that is interesting about that album is that it does represent the next 6 albums. So you have 3 tracks from Odoru Isonboshi, out of print album. You have 2 tracks from Mugen no Junin, out of print album. The 2 tracks are Jigoku and Kuroneko. You'll find out, you can get a hold of those later on. Anyway, and then there's 1 track from Taihai Geijutsu-ten, and that is the only compilation album to feature a song from that album. You will not find songs from that album anywhere else. So, to get a hold of that one out of print, it's a little bit costly. You're going to have to buy it used, so at least you might be able to get a track that way. One thing also, yeah, I think that might be out of print. This one is out of print. I managed to get one very good condition used for a reasonable price. The other one I don't need. I have the songs in other places. But anyway, just to let you know, those 2 first compilation albums cover the first 10 albums fairly well. Then we're going to move on to the 20-year anniversary album. That's this one here. A double disc, a fat boy, I think they call them. This one is actually really good as a compilation album. By this point, they had released 14 albums, and 13 albums are represented on here. Most albums have 1 or 2 songs. However, Odoru Isumboshi actually has 3 songs, the same 3 songs which appeared on the previous compilation. Mugen no Junin, again, Kuroneko and Jigoku appear on this one. So for that reason, I don't actually need to buy that other one. That's why I don't have it. Nothing from Taihai Geijutsu-ten. That's never to appear again for whatever reason. Anyway, so there are those 5 tracks which were of interest to me. As well, there are some additional tracks which are quite worthy of mention. First of all, Inju, which was the song that got them their start with that TV show, is re-recorded here. And I think the re-recorded version is better. It's heavier, the sound quality is better, the guitar sound is richer, the vocal performance is better. So that's cool. Also, I always forget the name of this one here, Tetsugoshi Mokushiroku, which was an instrumental track opening their debut full-length album. Here, it's re-recorded, and it's different. The opening track on the debut had this kind of like a guitar effects kind of intro, and then went into a proper full band instrumental. Here, however, the whole guitar thing at the beginning is cut. It starts straight off with Suzuki's bass, goes into the instrumental, and then goes into a proper song with lyrics. So that's pretty cool. You get a different version and a different perspective. That song was also the first song that Wajima introduced to Suzuki when they first met. And basically that and Suzuki's song is what made them decide, hey, let's form a band together. So that's kind of cool to hear. It's re-recorded, but anyway, kind of part of their history. Another song that is on here is Ryoki ga Machi ni Yatte Kuru. This was a song off the EP, and it appears here, re-recorded. I really like this one. It's a fun song. It's kind of on the border between heavy metal and hard rock, but it has this fun part in the middle, and I'm just going to let you hear it now, because I love listening to this. I'm pretty sure that's Kenichi Suzuki doing that, because it just seems like the thing he would do. So yeah, you have those 3 tracks, and of course Jimenso is also on here. So this is the 1991 recording that was done as a B-side. So yeah, for me, the 5 tracks from the 2 out-of-print albums and these 4 re-recordings made it worthwhile to get. And then, as I said, it's a fairly good representation of their catalog. Oh, I almost forgot. Kuruhi Saki. This is a previously unreleased track, which is also recorded, a new recording, and which is only available on this album. So yeah, there are 4 new recordings, or 3 of them re-recordings, a previously unavailable song only as a B-side or on the other compilation, and 5 songs from out-of-print albums. So for me, it was worthwhile to get this one. 5 years later, in 2014, they released their 25-year compilation, anniversary compilation. They took a different approach with this one here. First of all, from the previous one, there were actually 4 songs from Ningen Shikaku, and those same 4 songs appear here, which is probably the only one real disappointment for me. Why couldn't they have done something more? Something different? But anyway, aside from that, There is about one album's worth of overlap here. The songs of about one CD worth of overlap. The songs on roughly one CD worth are overlap with the 20-year anniversary. So the other disc would be all new material that you wouldn't get on the other one if you decided to get them both. So some of those songs are from the 4 albums that were released in between the two. Mirai Romanha, Shigen Kai-san ですね。Shigen Rai-san, Mandaro, and Burai Hojo. Those 4 albums are represented on here as well. Then there's also the added bonus of 4 completely new tracks, including Uchu Kara no Iro, the color of from outer space, which there's a video for. And then another tasty little tidbit is that there are 2 tracks on here which are exactly from the original EP. One of them is the original EP recording of Inju. So now you can hear the original version as well as the re-recorded version if you get the other compilation. And then there's one other song. What is it called again now? Shinkeisho I Love You, which was also one of the songs off the EP which appears on here. And what's interesting then is that means that all of the songs from the original EP are now available elsewhere, either in the original form to here or as re-recorded versions available on other albums or compilations. So that's pretty cool. So again, if you were to get the 20-year anniversary and 25-year anniversary, that's a total of 4 discs, or about 3 discs worth of all different songs. I think it's worthy to note one other slight disappointment with the 25-year anniversary is that because they made room for the newer songs, as buying that one only, you're missing some albums. There are, I think, at least 4 or 5 albums not represented on that at all, including the 2nd, 3rd, 4th album, the 7th album, and I think it's San Akudochu Hiza Kuriage. Hiza Kurige? Oh, I always get that one wrong. But anyway, the first album with Nobu Nakajima on drums, there are no songs from that one either. So in a way, that is a kind of disappointment, which is why I would say if you get 2 compilations, 20 and 25-year anniversary, make a more full, well-rounded compilation collection. Anyway, so let's move on to the 30-year anniversary compilation, which is due out December 11th. What kind of compilation is it? Well, first of all, the one thing that is interesting about it for someone like me, who has pretty much everything, there are 3 new tracks, including Inochi Urimas, which there's a video for, and 2 other new tracks, Ai no Nirvana, and another one which the title I haven't tried to translate or read the translation for, or how to read it, I mean. So, but basically we're looking at 3 new tracks. As well, Inochi Urimas, the video on YouTube is about 4 minutes and 30 seconds. This album here says the full version is available on this album. So I don't know how much longer it is, if it's a minute longer or a minute and a half. As you know, some of Ningen Isu's songs easily clear 6 or 7 minutes, so who knows what the full version will sound like. But anyway, it's there. So 30-year anniversary compilation, 3 new tracks to look forward to. Alright, as for the rest of the album, it's a kind of scattershot. First of all, there are a lot of albums here with only 1 song represented. And I think basically Ningen Shikaku has 3 songs on it, which is I think the same 3 songs which keep showing up on the other compilations. We have Hare no Yama, Sai no Kawara, Ringo no Namida. As well, we're looking again once more at Jinmenso. I don't know if this is the original version, which we haven't seen yet, or this is just the B-side, which we've seen on all the other compilations basically so far. Also, Inju is on here, but we don't know if this is the EP version or if this is the re-recorded version. So, that's a mystery. As for the rest of the albums, 21 studio albums, 6 are not represented. The 2nd and 3rd album, the 7th and 8th album, the 16th and 17th albums are not represented. What are those albums, you're wondering, aren't you? It's hard for me to remember all the titles. Anyway, again, let's see here, what's it called? Mugen no Junin, Kuroneko, and Jigoku are again on here. From Odoro Isumboshi, there's only 1 now, Dynamite, which is that really fast, very short song, under 2 minutes long. And 19, what is it? Kaidan Soshite Shito Eros. There are 2 songs from that one, and 1 from everything else. The Mujo no Scato, Heartless Scat, is on here. So you have that one song anyway from the latest album. So basically my feeling is that as a well-rounded compilation, it fails because there are just so many missing albums. So as your first Ningen Isu purchase, it's probably fine. If you are looking for a more fuller collection, you should probably look around a little bit more. But there are these 3 new tracks, as well as these couple other tracks which we're not sure if they are reissues or something new and surprising. And I guess I should also mention that the Color from Outer Space, which was on the 25-year anniversary, is also on here. Couple of surprises though. Kyofu no Daio, which was one of the big songs from Kaidan Soshite Shitoeros, there's a video for it. It's not on this compilation, which was a surprise for me. And there are a couple of other ones too, like Yurei Densha, I forget, Yurei Densha, the Ghost Train. It has been on the other compilations, and it is not on here either. So some surprisingly absent things, but I guess for 21 studio albums, it's hard to make a very fair selection for a double compilation, especially when you're introducing 3 new songs as well. So anyway, that is what to expect. You want to know what the track list is? You could probably also just check it on Amazon. And Metal Music Archives, I'm the one responsible for putting the discography on there, so I'm going to try to get all of their albums on there little by little. I still have about 10 more to go. So anyway, yeah. There it is then, the 5 compilation albums of Ningen Isu. I'm obviously running out of things that I think I should say, so it's time to wrap it up. I hope that is somewhat helpful. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments and I will answer back as soon as I can. And basically, there it is. Let's keep enjoying the music of Ningen Isu. I've been listening to nothing but for the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm hooked. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I appreciate any views, likes, comments, and yeah. Catch you in the next video then, hopefully. Thanks for watching.